Hello, my name is Berenice Kohana Paulsen. I am passionate about women. I love talking and I love coffee. Welcome on my coffee hope journey. Today I am here at Deja Vu Vintage House in Mossel Bay. It's a theatre, Manroof Theatre, where you can enjoy coffee and watch some movies. I'm excited to sit down today with Cornell Carstens, who have 10 years experience in media. And we're going to talk about media and specifically social media. Come join the conversation. Today I have the honor to sit down and have coffee with Cornell Carstens, a media personality, a media person in Mossel Bay and all around. If you hear Cornell Carstens, you think about media, drama. And we are here at the Manroof Theatre, which is so perfect because here you can come and have coffee and enjoy a movie. And today we're going to talk about social media, which make it perfect. Cornell, it's an honor to sit down with you. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure for me. Thank you very much. The honor is mine.
Social media is such a powerful tool. And it's a platform where we can inspire, educate, celebrate, advertise, and also just celebrate each other or educate us about something. But if you don't use it right, it can be something that you will regret forever. And today I'm honored to sit down with a media person that will give us the insight about social media. Cornell, how many years are you in media and why the love for media?
Berenice, I've been working locally for group editors. It's 10 years now. I must say it literally went by in a flash. And before that I was working in more in marketing and in advertising. And I think I studied journalism way back in the day. I'm far too scared to say how long ago that is. And I remember the reason why I didn't specifically studying journalism in the city. I didn't want to be with a daily newspaper because I didn't specifically want to report on the who, the where, the why, the what and the how.
Okay.
I was always interested in community media. So my love for community media is because you are so close to your community.
Yes.
When you're at a daily newspaper, and please don't shoot me for saying this, it's often that you're far removed from the people that you move amongst. You can't always feel the pulse of your community, the heartbeat of your community. Here in Mossel Bay, it's very, very difficult to hide if you're a community journalist.
Yes.
Before I joined the newspaper, I worked for a church for quite a few years. And I remember leaving there, I was particularly scared that I would not be able to fulfill my ministry anymore, not working for the Lord directly.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I remember that my path crossed with a pastor in my first few months at the Advertiser. And I remember him holding my hands and he said to me, "Sister, God has placed you in a favorable position."
Wow.
And the blessing that he gave me that day has truly paid off over the years that I've worked in community media. And I've really, by the grace of God, had the opportunity to serve my community almost more than in the time that I was in ministry.
Yeah.
So my love for local media, I think, sprouts from the fact that there is you cannot hide anywhere, and it's not that you want to hide. There's a credibility that a community newspaper has that I'm particularly proud of, especially in terms of the Mossel Bay Advertiser. And it's always wonderful arriving somewhere and people say, "Okay, well, we can start now because the Advertiser just arrived," and it's really a blessing to be able to serve your community in that way.
Wow, wow. Cornell, social media in general, and I follow you, and I like to watch your things on Facebook. Like I said, it's such a powerful platform. In your meaning, what should one share and what not?
I think there's a lot of information about what we should and shouldn't do on social media, and I think it's important that one discerns. The rule of thumb I often hear is that if it's something that you cannot say out loud, then don't say it on social media.
Yeah.
But then again, many people are not afraid to say rude things out loud.
Yeah,
We've seen enough examples in the past in our own country among celebrities, people that really suffer from things that they've said in a weak moment on social media. And I think that's something that one needs to be very mindful of. First thing, I think it's important to remember that although you feel that your social media page is yours, where you can fully express yourself, there's two things that you should probably not do. Don't say things that people will expect of you, and don't say things that people won't expect of you. It might sound like a bit of an ambiguous statement. One of our editors in the group always says that the worst thing and the best thing about social media is the same thing, and that's the fact that everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
I think one must be very wary. I can only use myself as an example. Although I feel strongly about certain things, because I'm in a position where I have to be accessible to all people.
Yeah.
I don't want to alienate them in terms of my political views or my religious views.
Yeah.
I need to know that people feel free to contact me about anything, whether it's a race issue, a sex issue, a gender issue, a schooling issue, which is why I think one must not be too vocal in what it is that you are following and advocating. If you see social media as a place where you can really influence and inspire, I think that's the right way to think about it. And still, I don't think any of us can be seen as a guru when it comes to social media. I think the important thing is that we need to be able to still be teachable, and that we need to be accountable. And that I need to be able to say to you, this is what you stand for as a role model, to say if I believe that you are almost straying from the path in terms of your social media account, to tell you that you are. We need to be grown up about social media, and I think because it's such a new thing still, that there's a lot of education that still needs to happen.
Yeah.
None of us know it all, because it's ever expanding, and we need to educate ourselves all the time.
Wow. I've heard the one time Rolene Strauss, the Mrs. World, she said that someone asked her, would she ever speak in front of a crowd of, I think, in the thousands, but a huge crowd. And she said, no, never. And the person told her, go check your followers. How many people is that? And that reminded her that everything that you post, you are talking to 1,000 or 600 people, even a photo, or even if you show inside in your house, you must know that I'm showing this to 600 different people. What is the dangers in your meaning?
Interestingly enough, I'm so glad we're having this discussion this week. I am writing a piece on cyberbullying based on information that reached me via a company called Digimune. It's a digital identity, privacy and social media protection company. I think you're so right in terms of the way that we view social media. I mean, when you're alone with your phone sitting somewhere thinking about, I want to post this on Instagram now.
Yeah.
It's you and your phone, and you never really quite think about the audience on the other side. We have a little trick when we take a photograph that if you snap, quickly scan around the person's head what's in the background, because sometimes you have a funny palm tree growing out of somebody's head or something weird, and you should basically remind yourself of the same issue when you post, when you take that photograph. What's in the background? What are people seeing? If it's the inside of my house, is there a bottle of wine? Is the glass empty? I don't mean that you should be almost dishonest about your life, but you need to know and need to understand that people are watching. And if you decide to set a specific example on social media, you need to be very, very careful. Interestingly enough, this week in this piece that I'm doing, it's about the dangers of social media and how you can actually protect your children. And interestingly enough, this is a survey that was done in February 2021. 200 South African parents were surveyed, and it's frightening to know that 51.5 children have been cyberbullied in South Africa.
Wow.
Now that is absolutely shocking statistics.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, the first step towards protecting you and your family is actually education. By the age of 10, 30.5% of children have their own smartphone. And that's actually shocking. So that just goes to show that that is the level of our exposure in terms of our children. In terms of the statistics here, the following cyber threats have been identified. 35% of children have been the victim of cyber stalking. 36.5% of children have fallen victim to online shaming, which is an incredibly important and shocking statistic. 43.5% of children willingly share their personal information on online platforms. That's almost 50% of young children. 54% of children have accessed inappropriate content via digital platforms. And like I said, 51.5% of children. So, I mean, I think the statistics speak for themselves.
Yes.
And they reckon that this does not measure the entirety of the problem. Now, because if we as adults or as parents or an older generation, if we are not educated, we are going to continue perpetuating this problem. And we're going to sit with all kinds of things like teenage suicide and all those emotional problems, self-image problems. So that, I think, is mainly the danger of social media, is actually an issue of not being educated at how harmful it actually can be.
Yeah.
If you look at how people how they devour social media, how they devour news all the time, it's just logic that children can fall prey to this kind of stalking and bullying all the time. So I think we need to limit our screen time by example. That's one of the very important things. Put the phone down, have a screen-free time, and seek places that maybe don't always have a Wi-Fi.
Have Wi-Fi.
Oh, I'm going to suffer for that comment.
Yeah, then we get so used to the first thing when you go to a restaurant or somewhere is your Wi-Fi.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Auto join all the time.
Yeah. Cornell, you've given us so much yet, but tips, a quick tip or tip on social media or productive media.
I think the important thing is that I always have a rule, just in terms of general media and the way that I write. When in doubt, leave it out.
Yes.
Not all of our filters are always in place all the time, but you know that little voice inside of you.
Yes.
I think also it's important that one must remember that it leaves a trail. Your social media leaves a trail. You know, sometimes when I'm confronted nowadays, and once again I can only use my own example, and I'm not afraid to admit my mistakes. I see posts from 5-6 years ago, and I sometimes cringe, thinking that I maybe communicated something that was not positive, or that was too personal, or that was a depressive thought. I want to really encourage people that feel lonely and that feel depressed and emotionally unstable, that they should seek help in the right places.
Yeah.
I think it's very dangerous to reach out on social media that way. And I think we must be wary and be your sisters and your brother's keeper. If you see that they are not doing well via their social media posts, reach out.
Yeah.
But thereby, I don't mean to not express yourself, but I think it's important that you take that cry for help to a person that can properly deal with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. I think what you won't say out loud, and think, breathe sometimes before you write something, before you just post, before you just slam, before you sling mud, before you accuse. It's so easy for us. Only today I placed a post on the advertiser's page, and immediately there were posts about what the situation was perceived as from the outside, without people really looking at what was happening in that post, in the picture. So I think people should really get back to a point where we just use our self-control.
Yes.
I think that's an important
Yeah,
thing. Education
self-control. Wow.
and self-control.
Wow, wow. Yes, I fully agree. Self-control. And also, people examine you according to your page. If I don't know you or you don't know me and you go on my page, and even interviewers or companies, when they check, they go and they see what kind of person this is, and when you post or before you post something, just ask yourself, is this okay for 1,000 people to read? Is this okay for 1,000 people to see? Is this what I want to give the world? Because that photo or that post can so quickly be screenshot and sent around.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you, Cornell.
It's a pleasure.
Wow,
I just wanted to add one last thing to that you mentioned now. I think it's so important also that we realize that in this interaction that we are having now, I can see your eyes and your body language. I have a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
But when we write on social media, our words can often be misconstrued.
Oh, yes.
I set my foot into something last year where I made a comment about the American elections that I meant in such a good way, but it was so badly received because immediately, contrary to what I know I should have done, I made a comment that was supposedly aimed at everybody, that we should never be on our high horses and count our chickens before it hatches, that we should always remain humble. And it was so misconstrued because people thought me pro something that I wasn't necessarily pro, and against something that I wasn't necessarily against. So I think, once again, it's so important to really just use your head when you post, and that you ask yourself, is this really going to contribute to the debate and the conversations that I want to be part of?
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
It was delightful.
Honor. Yes. Till next time.
Thank you, guys.